Okay, so I've noticed some of you are having trouble with your graphing, coming up with appropriate scales. So I thought I'd give a quick overview of what I look for when we do a graph so that you're able to be successful. If we're doing a graph like with a linear and nonlinear finance, it's going to be a single coordinate. So you're going to have your x and your y axes. Before you get started, think of what you would call the graph. It should have a title. So, money saved. That's an example of a title. It can be whatever it is relating to your particular assignment, but make sure you do have a title. Then you're going to title both of your axes, and if there's a unit of measurement, you include that. So let's put months on the bottom one because one of our assignments is looking at the change in money over months. And so the other one is savings. Now, months are just straightforward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but savings is a measurement taken in dollars. So you have to include your dollar sign to show that the money you're looking at is in dollars. It's not in yen or rubles. I hope that makes sense. The next thing is scale, and this is where I think people are struggling a little. We usually consider the intersection a 0 point, and it can be. So for the months, absolutely. At 0 months, we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see I've chosen every second line as the line to put my month on. Maybe every third line works best, maybe every fourth. You decide the one scale for the months that stretches out your graph to make it look like it's easy to read. For the money side, the money you have in savings is not going to be a set amount each month. It is going to be a set amount, but it's not going to change by the same amount each month. And when you look at these squares, each square has to equal the same amount. So for example, on your graph, if you told me from here to here was worth $100, and then you told me from here to here was worth $200, and then from here to here was worth $5, that makes no sense. The size of the square has to represent a certain amount of money, and that amount of money has then be consistent throughout the whole graph. So if you decide here to here is 100, it always has to be a 100 difference, always. You can't just make it whatever you calculated the savings is for the month. So if your savings start at $400 and it's only going up by a teensy tiny bit, you don't want to go 100, 200, 300, 400 and just start hitting the money up here. That's a waste of all this space. So you have a choice. You can start at a different number, and there's a little symbol you can use that looks like this that you put on your axes that allows you to have a break. So instead of starting at 0, I'm going to start at 400. So I put my little break in. I'm going to start at 400. I need a new marker, apparently. Now, I have to decide how much is each square going to represent for change. I am not going to look at my table and use the numbers I calculated because they are not going to be used that way. But I do need to look at the table and ask myself what's the lowest number and what's the highest number, and then figure out a way to distribute that over here. So if I let every 2 lines be $10, that will work for this graph. Every 2 lines is $10. That's a scale that makes sense. I didn't do $10 and then $6 and then $12. Each amount has to be the same. Now that means your dots aren't always going to be right on the line. That's okay. So if at 1 month it's 408, it's going to be just below the 410 point, and that is just fine. I hope this helps you. Please take your time with the graphs. Think about scale. Make sure you're watching those videos I had posted. And we'll get through this.